I said my dad drops bombs for a living. They evacuated 3 classrooms. Mrs. Hensley handed out the career day worksheet and told us to write 1 paragraph about what our parents do for work. I wrote that my dad drops bombs and blows up buildings, which is completely true, and I was feeling pretty good about it until she read my paper and made a sound like someone stepped on her soul. She speed walked to my desk like I'd written a death threat, snatched my paper off the table, and told me to follow her without explaining a single thing. I thought maybe I'd spelled something wrong, but the way her hands were shaking made it seem like I'd committed a felony with a pencil. Principal Cardenas was already waiting in his office like he'd been warned I was coming, and Mrs. Hensley handed him my paper like it was radioactive. He read it once, read it again, then looked at me like I'd just confessed to something on camera. "Dexter, I need you to explain exactly what your father does for work." I still didn't get why this was such a big deal, but whatever. He drops bombs and blows stuff up. He's really good at it too. Been doing it my whole life. Where does he do this? Wherever the target is. Mostly downtown. The second I said target, Principal Cardenas picked up his phone and made a call where he turned completely away from me and whispered the entire time, which felt kind of rude, honestly. About 20 minutes later, 2 guys in suits walked in who were definitely not teachers and definitely not normal cops. One of them sat across from me and said his name was Mr. Barrera, and he just wanted to ask me a few questions about my father. I was like, okay, this is getting weird, but sure. "Does your father work alone?" "No, he's got a whole crew. Like 12 guys. What do they do together?" "They set up all the equipment and make sure everything goes off at the right time. My dad says timing is everything, because if you mess it up, people could get hurt." Mr. Barrera wrote something down and gave his partner a look that made my stomach feel like it was trying to escape through my spine. "Has your father mentioned any specific locations he's planning to work on?" "Yeah, there's a big one coming up next week." Both men went very still. "A big one?" "A hotel, downtown. He's been planning it for months. Says it's gonna be the biggest one he's ever done. The whole thing's coming down." Mr. Barrera's pen stopped moving. His partner stepped into the hallway and made a phone call that sounded extremely urgent. I still had no idea what I'd said wrong because literally everything I told them was true. My dad does blow stuff up. He does have targets. There is a hotel coming down next week. I wasn't lying about any of it. Mr. Barrera leaned forward. "Dexter, what hotel?" "I don't know the exact name. The old one by the river that's been closed forever." My dad showed me pictures. That's when Principal Cardenas got on the intercom and announced that classrooms 4, 5, and 6 needed to evacuate immediately as a precautionary measure. I could hear kids in the hallway asking what was going on, and teachers kept peeking into the office staring at me like I was a wild animal. All I did was write 1 paragraph about my dad's job. 1 paragraph. Someone called my dad and told him to come to the school immediately, and the tone made it sound like I'd done something unforgivable. I sat there watching adults panic and wondering if maybe I should have just written that my dad works in an office like everyone else's boring parents. The door opened, and my dad walked in covered in dust from the job site, and I immediately noticed his work shirt had the word demolition printed across the chest in giant yellow letters, which you'd think would have cleared things up instantly, but apparently reading is hard. He saw the 2 suits, saw Principal Cardenas, saw me sitting there like a suspect, and I watched his face go from confused to annoyed to absolutely done in about 3 seconds. "Let me guess," he said. "My kid told you I blow things up and nobody thought to ask a follow-up question." Dead silence. He pulled out his phone. "I'm a demolition contractor. I knock down buildings, condemned ones, with permits. The city pays me to do it." He turned the screen toward them and started swiping through photos of warehouses collapsing, old factories coming down, newspaper clippings from job sites. "The hotel my son mentioned? The old Riverside Inn. We're demolishing it Saturday morning. The mayor is going to be there. You want tickets? I can get you tickets." He looked around the room real slow. "So, just to make sure I understand, my 10-year-old writes 1 paragraph about being proud of his dad's job, and your response is to evacuate 3 classrooms and call in guys with badges. That's what we did today?" Mr. Barrera opened his mouth. My dad didn't let him finish. "I've been doing this for 23 years. I've brought down buildings in 6 states. I have more permits and licenses than this school has common sense. What part of demolition was confusing? Point to it. I'll use smaller words." Nobody apologized. The suits disappeared, and Principal Cardenas suddenly remembered he had a very important meeting somewhere else. My dad took me to the job site that Saturday, and watching that hotel collapse in 9 seconds flat was the single coolest thing I've ever seen. Got an A on the assignment. Mrs. Hensley took early retirement.